Part 1, working with clay, not against it. When you think about clay soil, the first image that comes to mind is often the struggle. Boots caked with mud in winter, soil cracking like pottery in summer. But here's the secret. Your clay is not a curse, it's a hidden treasure chest. Beneath that heavy texture lies a wealth of nutrients just waiting to be unlocked. The truth is, clay soil feeds plants incredibly well, once you learn how to guide it instead of fight against it. I've met so many gardeners, new homeowners puzzled by stubborn yards, retirees who finally have time to create the flower borders they've dreamed of, and young plant parents balancing work, life, and a love for greenery, all of them asking the same question. Can clay really be turned into beauty? And the answer is yes. The key is understanding rhythm. In winter, clay holds water, so your plants need strong roots that won't rot. In summer, it dries quickly, so you add compost, grit, or semi-rotted manure to improve drainage and keep the structure balanced. This isn't just science, it's partnership. When you learn to work with clay rather than against it, something magical happens. Perennials grow stronger, flowers last longer, and your garden feels alive in every season. And that's exactly what we're about to explore together, step by step, plant by plant. Great perennials for clay soil, yet stunning options, and how to combine them in your garden border. Hello friends, and welcome back to Earthly Delights. If you've ever stepped into your garden with a spade in hand, full of excitement, only to hit that heavy, sticky clay that clings to everything, then you know the frustration. Many of you watching are passionate home gardeners, plant lovers who dream of colorful borders, lush greenery, and flowers that keep blooming season after season. Some of you may be beginners who've just moved into a home with a tricky clay yard, while others are seasoned plant parents who love experimenting with borders, textures, and year-round interest. No matter where you are in your gardening journey, you've probably asked yourself, can anything really thrive in this soil? Here's the truth. Clay soil isn't your enemy. It's secretly packed with nutrients and, with the right choices, can become the perfect canvas for a resilient, beautiful perennial garden. Today, I'll take you through 12 stunning perennials that don't just survive in clay, they flourish. And not only that, I'll show you how to combine them to create borders that burst with color, movement, and structure from spring through winter. So grab your cup of tea, settle in, and let's turn that stubborn soil into something extraordinary. And before we dive in, don't forget to hit subscribe to Earthly Delights so you never miss practical, inspiring tips to help your garden thrive. Part 2, Mid-Border Color Performers. Now that we've laid the foundation, let's step into the heart of the border, the midsection where color and texture truly come alive. This is where perennials shine brightest, filling the eye-level space with blooms that keep your garden cheerful from spring to late summer, while also creating harmony between the tall backdrops and the low-edging plants. 1. Hardy Geranium Shrubs. If you've ever wished for a plant that just keeps giving, the hardy geranium Shrubs is your answer. This perennial is one of those faithful companions that never seems to tire. From the moment spring warms the soil, it begins to spread into a lush, leafy clump. And soon after the blooms appear, soft yet striking pink flowers that seem to glow in the garden light. What makes Shrubs so special, especially for those of you gardening in clay, is its resilience. It doesn't sulk in heavy soil. In fact, it thrives, sending down roots that embrace the richness of clay and bounce back even after a tough season. I've seen it work wonders for beginner gardeners who were convinced clay was impossible, only to watch their borders transformed by weeks, sometimes months, of non-stop blooms. And for experienced plant lovers who crave easy maintenance, here's the best part. With just a simple trim of old flower heads, new ones rush up to take their place. It's like a cycle of renewal, right in front of your eyes. Shrubs reaches a comfortable height without overwhelming the border, sitting perfectly between taller backdrops and lower edging plants. It's reliable, colorful, and one of the best introductions to the beauty clay soil can offer. 2. Heuchera Starry Night. While many gardeners think of heucheras only for their foliage, Starry Night proves there's so much more to this plant's story. Imagine deep velvety purple leaves forming a rich mound at the center of your border. Already striking enough on their own, But then, as the season unfolds, delicate flower spikes rise gracefully above, adding airy movement that dances in the slightest breeze. For those of you who love borders that feel alive and layered, this is where Starry Night shines. Clay soil, which some plants find suffocating, becomes a perfect match here. The strong roots of Heuchera settle comfortably into the heavy texture, drawing on the nutrients locked deep within. What I love most about this plant, and what many of you at home will appreciate, is its dual purpose. The foliage keeps your garden interesting even when blooms are between cycles, while the tall flower stems provide bonus color and even make beautiful cut flowers for your table. With just a little sun each day, the colors deepen, and the plant rewards you with season-long performance. For gardeners who value both beauty and practicality, Starry Night is a reminder that clay soil isn't a barrier. It's an opportunity to showcase plants that thrive on strength and resilience. 3. Echinacea purpura. Few plants capture the heart of a garden quite like Echinacea, often called purple coneflower. Picture tall, sturdy stems rising confidently from your border, each crowned with a daisy-like bloom of bold pinkish-purple petals that curve back to reveal a spiky orange center. It's a flower that not only brings vibrancy but also resilience, the kind of strength clay soil gardeners truly need. For those of you who love welcoming pollinators, Echinacea is a magnet. Bees hum from bloom to bloom, butterflies linger, and even goldfinches swoop in later in the season to feast on the seed heads. It's a living invitation to wildlife right in your backyard. What makes Echinacea perfect for clay is its determination. Those strong roots dig deep, anchoring themselves in soil that many plants would avoid. And once established, Echinacea asks for very little. For busy gardeners who juggle work, family, and a love for green spaces, this plant offers weeks of uninterrupted color with minimal fuss. The blooms stand tall in the middle of your border, bridging the gap between shorter ground covers and towering giants behind them. Even in winter, when the flowers fade, the dark seed heads create striking silhouettes against frost or snow. Echinacea purpura isn't just a flower, it's a symbol of endurance, a true partner for anyone transforming clay into a flourishing garden. Part 3. Back of the border giants. Every great garden border needs its anchors, those tall, commanding plants that stand like guardians at the back. In clay soil, these giants don't just survive, they flourish, turning heavy ground into a stage for their dramatic blooms and towering presence. Let's explore the statement makers that give height, depth, and a sense of grandeur to your garden. 4. Vernonia mammoth, ironweed. If your garden needs a bold statement, Vernonia, often called ironweed, will deliver it with pride. Imagine a tall, upright plant stretching well above your shoulders, its stems crowned with clusters of deep, royal purple flowers that seem to glow against the late summer sky. Mammoth is the perfect name because this perennial doesn't hold back. It thrives in heavy, moisture-rich clay but is equally tough during dry spells, making it one of the most versatile giants you can grow. For gardeners who dream of borders with drama and movement, Vernonia is a natural choice. I've seen it transform backdrops from a flat and uninspired into vibrant tapestries, standing strong while other plants wilt under difficult conditions. Its flowers open from the center outward, creating a ripple effect of bloom that lasts for weeks, drawing pollinators from every corner of the garden. Butterflies in particular adore it, turning your border into a fluttering stage of color and life. What makes this plant especially valuable is how it frames your design. Set at the back, it provides structure and depth, giving smaller perennials room to shine in front of it. And even when the flowers fade, the sturdy stems and seed heads hold their shape well into autumn, offering silhouettes that carry the border's beauty into colder months. With Vernonia mammoth, your clay soil becomes not a challenge, but the foundation for a truly breathtaking garden presence. 5. Joe Pyeweed, Eutrochium purpureum. There is something almost magical about Joe Pyeweed, a towering perennial that feels like it was made for clay soil. Picture broad stems rising 6 feet or more, topped with billowing clusters of soft pink to mauve flowers that resemble clouds drifting above your border. For gardeners who crave a naturalistic style, this plant brings that wild, meadow-like beauty right into the structure of a home garden. It's the kind of perennial that makes you pause, because it doesn't just decorate your space. it transforms it into an ecosystem. Pollinators can't resist Joe Pye weed. Stand quietly near a clump in full bloom, and you'll hear the hum of bees, see butterflies hovering, and even notice hummingbirds darting in to sip nectar. It becomes a living centerpiece, turning the back of your border into a hub of activity and life. For those of you who love creating gardens that give back to nature, this plant is a gift. Clay soil, with its tendency to hold moisture, suits Joe Pye weed perfectly. It thrives where other plants might struggle, happily rooting into the dense ground and using that natural water retention to fuel its growth. And though it looks grand, it asks very little in return. A sunny or lightly shaded spot, and enough space to stretch without crowding neighbors. Whether you're a beginner dreaming of a lush border or an experienced gardener designing with wildlife in mind, Joe Pye weed is the giant that rewards your clay soil with breathtaking beauty and energy. 6. Miscanthus sinensis. When you think of perennials for clay soil, ornamental grasses might not be the first thing that comes to mind. But Miscanthus sinensis, with its tall, arching blades and feathery plumes, proves just how stunningly versatile grasses can be. Picture the back of your border swaying gently in the wind, the silver or copper-tinted flower heads catching the sunlight and creating movement that feels alive, even on the stillest days. For gardeners who love a border with texture and rhythm, Miscanthus is a masterpiece. Clay soil, often feared for being too heavy, actually provides the sturdy foundation Miscanthus needs. Once established, its deep roots anchor firmly, making the plant drought-tolerant in summer, yet equally capable of handling winter's soggy ground. This resilience is exactly what busy gardeners appreciate. You don't have to coddle it. It stands tall and proud, season after season, with minimal care. Beyond its elegance, Miscanthus is practical. In summer, it offers lush greenery and soft plumes that rise above neighboring flowers. In autumn, the foliage shifts to warm tones of bronze and gold, extending interest into the cooler months. And in winter, its dry stems remain upright, giving structure and beauty even against frost or snow. Whether you're a beginner seeking low-maintenance drama or an experienced gardener designing layers of height and texture, Miscanthus sinensis turns clay soil into the stage for a four-season performance. Part 4. Structural clumps and late-season interest. As summer begins to fade, a successful border doesn't lose its charm. It gains depth. This is where sturdy clump-forming plants and late-season bloomers step in, filling gaps with fresh color, texture, and structure. In clay soil, these perennials thrive, ensuring your garden keeps its rhythm and beauty right into autumn's golden light. 7. Sanguisorba frosted pearl. If you've ever wanted a plant that feels both delicate and commanding, Sanguisorba frosted pearl might be your new favorite. This perennial forms graceful clumps of narrow green leaves, and from them rise airy stems topped with tiny pom-pom-like blooms in a soft haze of lilac fading to pearl white. When a breeze passes through the garden, the flowers sway like a mist above the foliage, giving your border an almost dreamlike quality. For gardeners who crave a touch of elegance in late summer and autumn, this plant delivers with effortless charm. Clay soil, with its moisture-holding capacity, suits Sanguisorba beautifully. Instead of struggling, its roots settle comfortably into the heavy ground, using those stored nutrients to fuel weeks of continuous bloom. And unlike some perennials that fade once the season turns, frosted pearl comes into its prime just when other plants start to tire, keeping your garden lively and fresh. What I love most is how versatile it is in design. It softens the edges of more upright plants like echinacea or ironweed, creating contrast between bold shapes and airy textures. It also works beautifully when paired with ornamental grasses, weaving through their plumes to add layers of interest. For busy gardeners, it asks little. Occasional trimming of old stems keeps it neat, and otherwise it thrives on its own. With Sanguisorba frosted pearl, your clay soil doesn't just support life, it becomes the canvas for a late-season masterpiece. 8. Helenium autumnale. When the golden days of late summer arrive, few plants light up a clay garden like Helenium autumnale. Standing tall with sturdy stems, it produces a dazzling display of daisy-like blooms in fiery shades of yellow, orange, and deep red, like tiny suns glowing across your border. For gardeners who want their space to feel warm and alive, even as the season begins to wind down, Helenium is a perfect choice. Its flowers seem to catch every ray of sunlight, making the whole garden shimmer with energy. Clay soil, which can challenge many plants, gives Helenium exactly what it needs: consistent moisture and nutrient-rich support. In return, it rewards you with weeks of color when most perennials are fading. For those of you who love a lively border that doesn't quit, this is a must-have. And it's not just beautiful for us, it's a pollinator magnet. Bees and butterflies flock to its blooms, ensuring your garden hums with life at a time when wildlife is stocking up before winter. Another reason gardeners adore Helenium is its versatility in design. It pairs effortlessly with cool purples like echinacea or airy whites like sanguisorba, creating striking contrasts. Place it mid-border, and it acts as a glowing bridge between tall backdrops and lower edging plants. With just a little deadheading, it will keep producing fresh flowers, extending the season of joy. Helenium autumnale proves that clay soil isn't an obstacle, but a stage for vibrant, long-lasting color. Part 5. Low-growing spreaders and edging plants. Every border needs its finishing touch, those lower-growing plants that weave along the front and tie everything together. In clay soil, the right spreaders don't just survive. They create carpets of color and texture that soften edges, fill gaps, and highlight taller companions. Let's explore the gems that bring harmony to the base of your garden. 9. Ceratostigma plumbaginoids. At first glance, Ceratostigma plumbaginoids may seem modest, but wait until late summer arrives and it begins to show its true brilliance. This low-growing perennial creeps gracefully along the front of the border, forming mats of green foliage that burst into vivid gentian blue flowers just when many gardens start to fade. As the season shifts into autumn, its leaves take on striking red and bronze tones, creating a dramatic backdrop for the electric blue blooms. For gardeners who long for late-season surprises, this plant never disappoints. Clay soil, often heavy and unyielding, provides the perfect foundation for Ceratostigma's tough, adaptable roots. It tolerates both the soggy days of spring and the cracked dryness of summer, bouncing back with resilience that makes it a favorite for busy or beginner gardeners. You won't have to fuss over it. It quietly spreads, filling in bare spots and weaving color along pathways and edges. Design-wise, Ceratostigma is a true team player. Planted at the border's edge, it softens the transition from soil to bloom, creating a flowing ribbon of color that highlights taller companions behind it. It pairs beautifully with autumn flowering giants like Helenium or grasses, enhancing their height with a splash of low, glowing vibrancy. Easy, reliable, and breathtaking when the rest of the garden is slowing down, Ceratostigma plumbaginoides proves that even the smallest plants can make the biggest seasonal impact in clay soil. 10. Nepeta Walker's Low. If you're searching for a plant that brings softness, fragrance, and a touch of charm to the front of your clay border, Nepeta Walker's Low is the one. This catmint variety forms graceful mounds of silvery green foliage, topped with a cascade of lavender blue flowers that last for weeks on end. Imagine walking through your garden on a warm day and brushing against its leaves. The gentle scent it releases adds another layer of joy to the experience. For those of you who love gardens that engage the senses, this plant is pure delight. Clay soil might sound like a tough home for such a delicate-looking perennial, but Nepeta is tougher than it appears. Once established, its roots anchor deeply, tapping into the richness of clay while withstanding both moisture and summer dryness. It's drought-tolerant, forgiving, and one of the easiest perennials to care for, making it a favorite among beginners and seasoned gardeners alike. What makes Walker's Low so valuable in design is its versatility. It spills beautifully along paths, softens the hard edges of stone or wood borders, and contrasts with taller, more rigid plants behind it. Pair it with bold blooms like echinacea or Helenium, and the gentle lavender haze acts as the perfect backdrop. And as an added gift, pollinators adore it. Your border will be alive with bees and butterflies. With Nepeta Walker's Low, clay soil transforms into a stage for beauty that feels both effortless and enduring. Part 6. Shrubs and accent plants. A border isn't complete without structure, and that's where shrubs step in. They provide year-round backbone, framing your perennials with height, foliage contrast, and seasonal blooms. In clay soil, certain shrubs thrive with remarkable vigor, adding balance and elegance. Let's discover the accents that bring lasting form and beauty to your garden. 11. Hydrangea paniculata, little spooky, compact in size but mighty in charm. Hydrangea paniculata. Little spooky is a perfect shrub for gardeners working with clay soil and limited space. Unlike its larger cousins, this hydrangea has been bred to stay neat and proportional, forming a rounded shape that fits beautifully into smaller borders or container-style plantings. Its pure white mophead blooms appear in midsummer, creating a cloud-like effect that brightens even the shadiest corners. As the season shifts, those flowers age gracefully into soft shades of green and blush pink, extending their beauty well into autumn. Clay soil provides exactly what hydrangeas crave: moisture and nutrient richness. Once the roots dig in, Little Spooky becomes surprisingly resilient, capable of handling both soggy winter ground and the drier spells of summer. For gardeners who sometimes feel overwhelmed by high-maintenance shrubs, this one offers ease. Regular watering in its first year helps it establish, and after that it settles into a dependable rhythm of growth and bloom. Design-wise, Little Spooky is a wonderful anchor in the middle or front of a border. It pairs beautifully with perennials like Nepeta or Ceratostigma, whose colors highlight its glowing white flowers. And in mixed plantings, it adds a touch of elegance, balancing bold textures and fiery tones with its calm, cooling presence. For those of you wanting structure without bulk, Hydrangea Little Spooky proves that clay soil can host beauty that is both graceful and compact. 12. Physocarpus opulifolius, Lady in Red. Every garden deserves a shrub that delivers drama, and Physocarpus Lady in Red does just that. From the moment new growth emerges, its leaves glow with deep red to purple tones, instantly adding richness and contrast to your border. By late spring, clusters of soft pink, golf ball-sized flowers crown the foliage, creating a striking combination of color and form. As summer progresses, the foliage deepens, providing a luxurious backdrop for surrounding perennials. And when autumn arrives, the leaves shift once again, giving your clay garden another season of interest before the bare stems add winter structure. Clay soil, with its natural density, supports Physocarpus beautifully. The plant's strong root system thrives in heavy ground, anchoring it securely and allowing it to grow with vigor. Depending on how you prune it, Lady in Red can reach between 3 and 5 feet, making it an excellent mid-height shrub to frame your border. For gardeners who want flexibility, pruning right after flowering helps you keep it tidy, while leaving it to grow naturally gives you a bolder statement piece. What makes this shrub truly special is its year-round contribution. Unlike perennials that disappear in winter, Lady in Red maintains presence through every season. It pairs wonderfully with lighter foliage plants, such as heucheras or ornamental grasses, which highlight its dramatic hues. For those of you designing with layers and contrast in mind, Physocarpus Lady in Red proves that clay soil can host shrubs of striking elegance and lasting impact. Part 7. How to combine them in a clay garden border. Now that we've met our 12 clay-loving stars, the real artistry begins, weaving them together into a border that feels alive from spring through winter. Think of your garden as a story, with every plant playing its role. At the back, tall anchors like Vernonia, Joe Pye weed, and Miscanthus set the stage, giving your border height, drama, and a natural backdrop that frames everything else. Step a little closer, and you'll find the mid-layer filled with color performers: Geranium Surac, Heuchera Starry Night, Echinacea, Sanguisorba, and Helenium. These are the heartbeat of your border, offering weeks of blooms, textures, and foliage contrasts that keep the eye moving. Then, at the front, the low growers like Ceratostigma and Nepeta create a gentle ribbon of color, softening the soil line and inviting you into the scene. And weaving throughout, shrubs like Hydrangea Little Spooky and Physocarpus Lady in Red bring structure and permanence, ensuring your design doesn't vanish when winter arrives. It's this layering, tall at the back, lively in the middle, delicate at the front, that turns clay soil from a challenge into a canvas. You get contrast in color, balance in form, and most importantly, a succession of interests that carries your garden from the freshness of spring to the golden light of autumn. When combined thoughtfully, these plants don't just coexist, they sing together, transforming heavy clay into a border bursting with harmony, resilience, and beauty all year long. Practical clay soil tips. As we close this journey through clay-loving perennials, let's pause on one final truth. Success with clay isn't just about the plants you choose, but also about how you care for the soil itself. One golden rule I've learned over years in the garden is to mulch wisely. Many gardeners make the mistake of spreading mulch over dry clay in the heat of summer, but this only bakes the soil further and locks in the cracks. Instead, wait until the rain has truly soaked the ground, when the soil feels cool and damp beneath your hands. That's the perfect moment to lay down mulch, sealing in moisture and protecting the structure of your soil. And remember too that patience is your ally. Clay can feel stubborn, but season after season, as you add organic matter and let roots do their work, it transforms into a soil of great richness. It may take time, but the payoff is a border that not only survives, but thrives. And as you've seen today with the right 12 plants, your clay garden can offer spring freshness, summer color, autumn warmth, and even winter silhouettes. So don't see your clay soil as a curse. See it as a foundation for resilience and beauty. Go out, plant boldly, and watch as your garden rewards you with strength and life. If you enjoyed this journey and want more practical, inspiring tips for your home and garden, be sure to subscribe to Earthly Delights. And tell me in the comments, which of these clay-loving perennials would you love to try in your border?